Hello and welcome. I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity, and this is another episode of Getting to Clarity, the podcast that helps busy women leaders create more success in their leadership with less sacrifice in their life. And I'm really excited. My guest today is Cami Gibertini, a friend of mine from Tampa, Florida, woman in banking, powerhouse in the community, and welcome, Cami. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I have to let you know that Cami is one of the people who got me on this track. She said, Debbie, I really think that what you have would be well served on a podcast. If you haven't considered that, you should. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to look into that. And here we are, and Cami with me. So this is only so appropriate. Let me give you a little bit of information about Cami so you get to know her better. And so Cami, as I said, is a woman in banking. She has 30 years in the retail banking experience in the Tampa Bay market. She is currently Vice President, Business Center Manager at Hancock Whitney Bank. And so she does a lot with overseeing sales and service activities in the Tampa retail branches in the Tampa Bay area. She is also the founder of the Women Entrepreneurs, which was later renamed Women in Business Program at Valley National Bank. And that is when I met Cami. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is who she is. This is what she is about. I am taking my banking and I am bringing it to her. and so she just has that much charm and influence and just really stands behind women supporting other women, women empowering other women. And I felt that vibe right away and had to be connected with her. She is also on the board of directors of the Girl Scouts for West Central Florida, and she participates in a mentoring program for Metropolitan Ministries, which is a mentor in residence program for women. And she is a supporter of women in business and believes in encouraging and empowering women to make the world a better place. And she demonstrates that in every single thing she does. So Cami, welcome.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you today. And I'm just so proud of your journey and all that you do and just how I've seen you grow, supporting women and helping them achieve their personal and professional successes along the way. It's just been great to watch you blossom. And I'm so proud of you for doing this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, it is my pleasure. And thank you so much for those kind words. And I'd love to give the audience a little more opportunity to learn about you because you've had a very interesting career in banking. So, you have gone to the ABA Stonier Graduate School of Banking at the University of Pennsylvania at the Wharton Business School. And so, pursued that. It's a very prestigious accomplishment on your behalf. You are very busy in the community. We see you all over the place. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit of your background of how it is that you got to where you are today.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, banking for me, I started a banking career right out of school. So I was 18 years old. I wanted to be a banker. And, a lot of people, I look back now, and especially as I talk to young women today, I never hear anybody say, oh, I want to be a banker. Or you kind of fell into this career, but I knew because I used to go to the bank with my parents, and I just thought it was just a great job. And so anyways, I stayed in the banking community, and I really was able to grow and learn. And I was always very fortunate to have, women and men, really look to help give me, the next level experience. And so I've had a lot of time in training and mentoring in my career from my senior bankers along the way. And so I give them a lot of credit in my journey. But I think for me, I just stayed in it. So, I started as a teller. And then you just aspire to each level. And so in banking, there's a typical track that you take and from a career pathing perspective. And so I just, I would, every couple of years, I would get promoted to the next level, and I get promoted to next level. And then I, join the management ranks. And then you have opportunities to go to these banking schools. And typically these banking schools are for your best and your brightest. They're 3-year commitments. You go up to school for either a week or 2 weeks on campus. You're in classes all day. You're grown up, family at home, you're back to school. And so I've done 4 banking schools in my 30 years of banking career, and University of Pennsylvania, Stonier was like the mecca of a certification in banking that you would want to have. And so I was very proud to be able to be sponsored by my bank at the time to go ahead and send me up there for 2 weeks a year. It was daunting. It was hard. I had imposter syndrome. Most of the time I was at school, to be frank. But, I just stayed with it. And so you just have to, dig deep. But yeah, so banking's all I've ever done.
So let me ask you, because that was really important. What you said is that, you're grown up. And so you go up there and you immerse yourself in this program, and it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. You're in classes all day and you got a family at home. And so that really, that touches on a subject about, all right, you're trying to create more success for yourself in your career, and, aspiring to new levels, and knowing that this is one of the things that it's going to take. And there's going to be a sacrifice. You're going to be away from your family. There's school activities and things like that. So, how was that, and how did you deal with that? Because that's the crux of it, is that there will be sacrifices, but how do you choose what it is that you do and understand and educate?
Yeah, I think women have to make tough choices like that all the time when they have family and they work in a leadership position in their companies. And I can tell you, I'd like to tell you, it was just perfect, and, it all worked out. This one particular year I was at University of Wisconsin, and I missed my daughter's birthday 3 years in a row. Like, I wasn't physically with her, 3 years in a row, because it was during the summer, and it was always the last week of July, which is her birthday. And, I can remember each year I would try and do something to wear, and this is before we had FaceTime, I'm dating myself. And, so I couldn't even FaceTime her to wish her a happy birthday. I just had to, call her, and, during my breaks. And, my husband always took the day off from work that day and spent the day with her at, a park. They'd go to, Venture Island, or they'd go do something fun. But I wasn't there for 3 of her birthdays. And she reminds me, at times, she's an adult now, but, it comes up every now and then that I miss that. And I think that, you have to, make sort of, you kind of have to reconcile with yourself as a mother and as a professional and as a leader on what is, what are you able to sort of live with, if you will. Mm-hmm. I knew that I needed this level of education to fulfill what I wanted and what success meant to me. And I think that, we're still coming out, and I'm hoping that women, as we continue, generations ahead, to not feel like you have to choose. It doesn't have to be a win-lose situation. It could still be a win-win. What I look at is, I thought, well, she gets to spend a day with her dad and her brother, and they get to go do fun. I didn't ride roller coasters. So then when they would hit the parks, they would, would be all in. You didn't have to worry about mom, holding back the, because I didn't ride. And so I just kind of, in my mind, I kind of reframed it and still thought, hey, I wasn't there, but hey, she had a great day. She had a really fun day with her dad. And so, sometimes you have to reframe it on, so that you can sort of, feel comfortable with the choices that you make. But I don't think it needs to be a win-lose.
And move forward. When you reframe it that way, it's got a positive outcome, and you move forward instead of focusing on it, that it was, a mistake, or and ruminating on it and keeping yourself there.
Yeah, you can't say I'm a bad mom because I wasn't there. No, I was a good mom. She was safe. She was cared for. She was, well treated. And so I think that, sometimes when you're growing your career, you're making tough choices like that. But you have to understand, again, what is it that you're willing to, sacrifice, and your why. And so my why was, I knew I wanted to be, an executive in the bank. I knew that early on. And so every decision I made was, getting closer to that. And again, there were things along the way. There were school events I couldn't make. There were times I couldn't pick up on time. There were times I couldn't, do the things that typical moms would maybe do, because I was doing other, I was in the bank. And, you just sort of have to, number one, if you can't, to your best abilities, have a good support system. very fortunate. I have a very supportive husband. And so, he was there. My mom is local to us. So I'm able to help. My mom is able to help us. So, if you have those resources, use them, and ask for help. I think a lot of times women, we think we have to do it by ourselves. And, there's so many people out there that want to help. I mean, I have friends that would help me if I called and said, hey, I need something, and, enlist their help. People want to do that, and, when you do that, it's going to open it up for your friends and colleagues to ask you for help sometimes, because we're going to do more together than we will by ourselves.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what does success mean to you? What is your version of success?
If you would have asked me that, 5 years ago, Debbie, I probably would have had a completely different answer than I do today. I've definitely had lots of changes, but success to me today is it's true fulfillment in who I am, what makes me happy. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I don't do things for other people anymore. I'm very mindful of where I put my energy and where I get it from. I'm very protective of that. But success for me is not in a title. It's not in a salary grade. It's not in a position. It's really in, how I'm, again, it's God, it's hard to explain, but I think it's just really fulfillment in, what I feel like I'm making a positive difference, right? So, as a leader in the bank every day, I really, at the end of the day, I go home and, if I serve my clients well, if I feel like I've served my teams well, I was able to get on my Peloton in the morning, things like that. That's success to me. I mean, it doesn't have to be this great, grand thing that, oh my God, I have to achieve this and then I'll be successful. I mean, success can look very different day to day. And I'm okay with that. It's more fluid than it used to be. It used to be, I have to be this title at this income by this time, or all bets are off. And I think that, and as you get older, I think you start to realize you can't sweat the small stuff. And, success is a daily journey. And, I don't want to get so caught up in the destination that I forget that I'm on it every day. And so it's every day. How do I look at life? How do I set my mindset every morning? I try and do that very intentionally. What kind of day am I going to have? And some days don't work out that way. And, okay, I let it go and I try again the next day.
And it's interesting what you said, because you said that if you would have asked me this 5 years ago, I don't know if my answer would have been the same. And would you agree that success and our definition of it tends to change throughout our life, depending on where we're at?
Yeah, I think success is so much situational. And what, again, is success just a professional goal, or can success be, personal? Yeah, I used to be very tunnel vision. I thought success was in my professional career. And, I thought that what I did was who I was. And the problem is that when you have a change in that in your professional career, it can change, if you're not really rooted in who you are personally, it can really change you. And sometimes negatively, sometimes very positively, which I think in my case, it really did allow me to kind of, unpack some things. And, you have to go through that journey of self-discovery and understand, okay, what is my worth and value? And it's not just on one side. I think that's one side of the equation, but, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a tribe member to a wonderful tribe of women. I'm a board member, but yeah, I'm a banker too. So, I mean, I've got a lot of different titles in my day, and there's areas in my life where I'm super successful all the time. And there's areas where I need to continue to work on success each day. So, I try not to define it so much in a box that if something changes, then it throws me off my game. I don't want to do that. I did that, for many years, probably through my 30s and 40s. I was very much, balls to the wall, excuse my French, on what success was in my career. And, very A-type, very driven. And, I think it was good. I think it worked for me. I think it got me to where I was, but it made the fall a lot harder, so yeah.
It does. And it's, when you talked about meaning and you talked about success, really tapping into who you are, I think that that's where a lot of the listeners either are or get to, in that they are pursuing it hard. It is about the work, and yet we're one person. We have a personal life, we have a professional life, but we're one person, and you have to pay attention to both sides of the equation. Otherwise, things get bad quickly. and just having that opportunity to show up as your highest and best self. And I think that there are people out there who don't know what that is for them, that they are trying to be someone that they're not, to get to where they think they want to go. And it was interesting. I can't remember where I heard this, and I can't attribute it, but a while ago, a couple of months ago, it was talking about, in life, we start focusing early on what it is that we want to do when we grow up, so that we can have the things that we want to have, the house, the jewelry, the car, the trips, the whatever. But then at some point we come looking for meaning. It's kind of like, okay, who am I and what brings me joy? And that gets into the who we're meant to be. So we kind of go, do, have, be. But if you can get to the point where you're really clear on, who am I? Who am I meant to be? Who am I being? Who do I want to be? Then what it is that you're supposed to do, how it is that you're supposed to do it, it all becomes so much easier. So kind of inverting that. And I would be really curious, you said there are some areas of life that you've just got it going on, you got your handle around that. And there's others that, we all have work to do, right? What area of life are you solid in? And what tips could you give to the listeners about bridging career and that particular area of life? What allows you to be successful with those two?
Okay. I feel like, the one thing that I do for myself very, very well is my self-care. I don't feel like that's a selfish thing. I mean, I tell people I can't give you what I don't have. So I have to take care of myself. And so, that's something that I protect at all costs. I don't, again, I tend not to be around negative people, negative energy. Number one, I think I irritate them. And so, it's really, because they're like, wow, are you always like this? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And so, I always try and find, the positive side, but anyway, self-care is important to me. So preserving that time on my schedule. I have a lot of women that tell me, I just don't have time to go, work out. And I'm like, you don't have time not to, in my opinion. You don't have time not to. Your body is going to be with you your whole life. And, it's all fun and games until you get to that age where, again, you start to lose things and you start to experience that. And so, for me,
so how do you make it fit in? How do you make it fit in?
I schedule it. I get up in the morning, and that's one of the first things I do. It's like, okay, or I'm able to look ahead. It's been a part of my life, my whole life. And so, so it's not hard for me. It's not it's become a routine. It's very, I can remember, when my kids were little and I would have to go out and either go to the gym, or maybe it was like go for a walk at the time. I remember, when they were little, we couldn't afford to have gym memberships. And so I'd have to go for a walk in my neighborhood to go for a run. And, my kids would be like, Mommy, I want to go. And I'm like, no, you're going to stay with your dad. I need, sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes I could only do 15 minutes. Sometimes I could do an hour. And so, but the whole thing is it has to be something that you protect, and that you're intentional about, and that you really say that, what, of 24 hours, you mean to tell me in 24 hours, I can't take 1 hour to give my body what it needs to be able to sustain me long-term in this life. I mean, I want to live until I'm, well into my 80s, right? I want to be, and so I have to be healthy for that. And so my body has to be, trained for that. And honestly, I can tell you that my fitness has really helped me deal with some of the stresses of my job from a stress standpoint. I would go out and run because I would say, get my demons out. It gives me thought clarity. I could really think through things. I had some of my best, ideas when I'm spinning on my bike. And so I feel like, that for me, like I got that. So, what I tell people who say, I just don't have time to work out, or maybe they have little ones and they don't know. And, there are times that I used to take them with me. I put them in their stroller and we're going to go for a walk. And, They have to understand that it's important. And, again, you schedule it, you're intentional, you make a promise to yourself, you do what you say you're going to do, because you want to build trust to yourself that you do what you say. And if you can't commit to yourself and do the things that you for yourself, how can you do that for other people? And so I think a lot of that, I think women we're so good at prioritizing other people's needs and wants over ourselves. And it includes our kids and our husbands and our partners. And I just think that, we do a disservice to ourselves. And as when you're in your 30s and your 40s, you may not feel it, but I can tell you as you get into your 50s, the neglect that you've done over the years is harder to correct. It's harder to change, what is it? Behaviors, right? Yeah. It takes, what do they say? 21 days to make a habit. It's harder, to make
catches up with you.
It catches up with you. So, I was very fortunate. I feel like it's a part of my DNA. I don't know where I got it. My mom doesn't do a thing. So, I don't know really where it is. She tells me I'm weird about it, but that's one area where I feel like I got it. I
think that there is great wisdom in there for anyone listening. And, one of the exercises that I do with my audience and my clients is to really compare, when you consider all the areas of life, if you put them in order, what's most important to what is least important, knowing that they're all important, and then create another list and rank it by how you spend your time, it can be illuminating. And, career usually is where you spend most of your time. I mean, we work for a reason. We're generating wealth. We've got bills to pay, kids to send to college and everything like that. But how can you build strategies between career and the areas that are most important to you? And what you said there about, scheduling it. And I loved how the reframe was that, you mean in 24 hours, I can't take 1 hour for myself? I can't take 30 minutes for myself? That really puts it in perspective. So I love what you shared. And I'd be curious, when it comes to what it is that you protect at all costs. So I would think that, self-care is in there. Is there anything else that goes into that category when it comes to career and what career is allowed to impact? Because it's a choice a lot of times. What else do you protect?
Right. For me, I really do protect, my mantra sort of, well, not sort of, it is, you teach people how to treat you. And so I think that is, again, I will not tolerate any sort of disrespect or what I perceive is, and I'm very, again, I think it's just an integrity thing. I stand up for myself, but in a way that's assertive and not aggressive. And I think that's important. I think,
and give me your definition between the two, assertive and aggressive.
I think assertive is when you can say it respectfully, when you can say it without being attacking, without, being at all defaming or, ugly, as my mom would call it, don't be ugly. I think that's being assertive, is being able to, say what you think, being mindful of your filter and your audience. But again, not being ugly or attacking of anyone, but standing up for yourself, and, having those crucial conversations, because I'm a big one to say, you got to care enough to confront. If I care enough about you, I will confront you with information or feedback, again, that I think, would help. And especially as it relates to me, I've worked for bosses that have been really tough. And I think that a lot of times, we will accept treatment from others, especially in a superior position, that takes away. And I think that there comes a time where you just say, no more, and I had that situation where I just decided, that's not going to work for me. And, and it's okay to exit a situation if you feel like it's not good. But, yeah, I'm a big believer in that. You teach people how to treat you.
And even yourself.
Yes.
You teach yourself the same thing.
You teach yourself, don't have self attacks or, say things, to ourselves. We're all probably guilty of it. I was watching, just a side note, I was watching, Dancing with the Stars. It's one of my guilty pleasures. And it has one of my favorite Peloton instructors on it this season. And so that's why it kind of pulled me back in. And anyways, it was very interesting, Debbie, that I watched probably 4 or 5 of the dancers, these women dancers, whether they were the professional or they were the stars, talk about after the performance, and they were amazing. They were all amazing. Like, I don't even think I could ever do it, right? I'd like to try,
I'd be
but
hospitalized.
yeah. But they all, when they were talking to them, they all talked about the fact that they were really vulnerable in saying that they're really hard on themselves, and they don't feel like they're good enough. And they just were so disappointed with the level of their perfectionism has not allowed them to enjoy the journey, because it's, they thought they could have done better. And I thought, golly, if here these women are that are on, that are out there and that we're looking up to, right? And they got picked to be on this great show. And they're doubting, there's, like, it kind of like put in perspective. And it was just weird, because I thought, is it a theme night? It was just this past week. I'm like, is it a theme night? Why are all these women talking about imposter syndrome, and they don't feel good enough, and then their perfectionism is robbing them, and that they're feeling so vulnerable, and they don't, and I thought, wow, okay, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Because I'm hearing this a lot from, the women I interact with, and it's been an interesting thing. So I think a lot of women have this stuff happening. So we just have to be really protective of our own thoughts, because, our thoughts drive our feelings and drive our actions. And so I think we need to really, to the best of our ability, reframe things so that it's not so negative. We need to give ourselves a break.
Yeah.
We don't have to be on 24/7. We're okay. Give yourself some grace.
Grace and grace, baby. Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things that I do for myself every morning is, I come down here into my office, and I do some meditative time, and it's kind of whatever's pulling at me. It may be journaling. It may be just, staring at the wall, letting my thoughts go where they go. And a lot of times I'm on Insight Timer, and I really love that app. And there's a woman on there, her name is Sarah Blondin, and she's got the most amazing voice. If you haven't heard of her, go check her out. And she was talking about, permission and tapping into joy. And I think that sometimes we can hustle and just strive and drive, and we push and we force, and we forget about what makes us happy. And in this particular meditation, and the reason that I bring it up is that she started with a story about a woman who was profoundly sad. And she went to an old wise man and said, old wise one, that, my life just feels so heavy. And, all of this is going on in the planet and, in the world. And, and my son it was just all of her woes. She just emptied out and poured out all of her woes to the wise old man. And he looked at her and he said, dear one, but what brings you joy? And, there's a message in there for us. What brings us joy? So I love that you shared that. And Cami, we're coming to a close of our time together. So I would ask you, what is like a last message that you would like to share with the audience? What is it that is important for them to know?
Oh, golly, so much. I think what's really important is for women, number one, I'm a big believer in women supporting women. And I feel like, anytime you have an opportunity to help another woman be successful, help another woman, achieve her personal or professional goals. I love mentoring. I love mentoring, young women in their professional careers, mentoring women as a whole, in the experiences that I've had. And if it could help somebody learn, from my failures, from my faults, from my successes, from my ability to be transparent and authentic, I think that, that's a great thing. Again, help mentoring. And also too, if you're in a position in leadership and you can sponsor a young woman in her career growth to, I can promise you, you're going to get more from that than maybe she thinks she's going to get, because you get to watch somebody else grow. And again, I have an affinity towards women, but certainly, right now I'm mentoring and sponsoring a young gentleman here at the bank, and watching his growth and seeing how he is, taking in that information and applying it, and how I see that it's working for him. I'm just thrilled. And so I would just say, if you have that opportunity, you're going to get more blessings because of that. And you're going to get so much more fulfillment out of that, and watching that person grow and develop. So I just say, when you can, please do. And then give back in your community We all can, having a compassionate heart is a good thing. I think that, we need to be better humans in this world, especially
now.
after COVID. Yeah, I just feel like if we could just be a little bit more compassionate and understand that everybody has a story, and everybody has trials and triumphs, and it's not a win-lose situation. We can all do this together, and, just to be, more kind and compassionate, because I think the world needs that right now.
I absolutely agree with that. And Cami, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, for being here on the podcast with us, for sharing all of these insights with the listeners. It's just been terrific. So everyone, thank you. Thank you for tuning in today. Cami, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And
such a pleasure.
Oh yes, such a pleasure. And we'll be doing it again. So until the next time, here is wishing all of you the clarity that you deserve. Have a really great day, and bye-bye for now.